What's going on, beautiful royal family? All praises to the Most High God of Israel. And I am bringing this here forth to each and every last one of us because tomorrow actually starts our Passover. Now, I want to make this very clear. If there are those of you that already went ahead and celebrated the Passover, mwah, 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 all praises to the Most High for you. All right. I am not going to argue with anyone about when you observed it as long as you did. That's all that matters. But when it comes to me and it comes to the royal family, what I am going to do is show and prove per scripture why the Passover starts tomorrow. All right. So there's no disagreement or with anybody. All right. Because quite frankly, I really do not care. But I just wanted to make sure that I emphasize that. And I'm going to be very honest with y'all too. Let me explain something to you. Do y'all know right now that there is a documentary that's coming out on Hulu in regards to Freaknik, right? It is no coincidence that they are bringing this out during a time when our people are supposed to be observing our Passover. Because if we don't observe the Passover, it is a sin. So this is another way that they are keeping our people in sin because they're trying to distract us and make us lose our focus as to what is important. And Hulu said that they were going to release this in mid-April. They still haven't done it, but I bet you they go ahead and release it during the time of our Passover, which starts tomorrow. So now let's go ahead and get this started. So family, please, I want you to open your Bibles to the 1611 King James Version Bible with the Apocrypha, and we're going to be going over these things. So to start all of this off, family, to start it all off, first, we have to understand when the Passover is. Now, first and foremost, the Father told us that the Passover will be in the month of Abib. If you're unfamiliar with the month of Abib and what it's for, let me get you the definition for it, okay? So let's get this right now. The month of Abib, and why is this so important? So first, let me get you the definition of Abib. All right, here it is. Abib, Hebrew, means barley ripening and by extension, spring season in Hebrew. So why is it mentioned in the spring season? Why is that so important? I'm going to tell you why. It is so important because that is the time that the Father appointed to the Israelites. When life comes back on the planet, when there is life on the planet again, that is when we observe and begin to recognize the month of Abib. Now, why is that also so important? Because in the world, they have their new year during the time when the actual earth is dead. There is no life. It's cold. It is during the winter solstice. That is their celebration. The world celebration, the world's, has nothing to do with us. You see, Satan will always do things opposite of the Most High. The Father told us we are to observe the month of Abib. We are to observe our Passover during the time of the barley season, when life is back on the planet. So I read that. So now let's go ahead and get this here. Let's go to the book of Leviticus, chapter 23 and verse 5. The book of Leviticus, chapter 23 and verse 5. Let's see what this says. In the 14th day of the first month at even is the Lord's Passover. So it's telling us in the 14th day. So the Father is giving us a specific time. So now we have to see how we calculate that 14 days. So let's go ahead and do this here. So the world of Israel, our time frame starts during the new month, the month of Abib. This came at the end of March. The end of March, when you start to see the cross-pollination between the birds and the bees, when you begin to see all of the trees and everything budding, that's when you see the grass start to grow. You know when you see things. You're not stupid. You're not dumb. You know when it is. Now, when we see those things, we have to look for the first full moon. The first full moon. That is the appointed time. Let's go ahead and prove that. Please, family, open your Bibles to Psalms chapter 81 and verse 3. The book of Psalms 81 and verse 3. All right? This is going to tell us about them feast days. Watch this. Blow up the trumpet in the new moon in the time appointed on our solemn feast day. Our solemn feast day. I'm going to read that one more time. Blow up the trumpet in the new moon, in the time appointed. That's the one there that we need to focus on, the time appointed on our solemn feast day. So as you see, this is all within the same time frame. That new moon. How do we know that the new moon is the full moon? And I know there are so many Israelites that argue over this, and you guys can go right ahead and argue. Some people think that it's the little sliver. The Bible does not say that. The Bible tells us, first of all, in Genesis 1, that he put two great lights in the sky. That was the beginning of time there. And when he put that light into the sky, it was a full casting moon. But that was in Genesis. That's the proof in Genesis. But I don't even want to go to Genesis. What I want to do, I want to go to another translation of Psalms 81:3. Let's go ahead and get that real quick. The very same verse, just a different translation. So when we look at this here, it tells you, let's look at the New International Version here really quick. And this is still Psalms 81:3, and you can do your own research and verify this on your own. Sound the ram's horn at the new moon, and when the moon is full on the day of our festival. Here's the English Standard Version. Blow the trumpet at the new moon, at the full moon on our feast day. You see, this is why it is important that you do know and read other translations so that you can have a translation. But all you have to do is just go in and look at the Hebrew and look at exactly what it says. It tells you it's the full moon. It is not the sliver. I'm bringing you the scripture that actually says it. That is the appointed time. That is when we know when the new moon starts. So that happened on April 6, 2023, when I was able to observe life back on the planet. Then it's following that full moon, which was on April 6th. And if you calculate 14 days, it goes to April 20th. This is very, very simple for our people to understand. It is not difficult, family. I know there's a lot of people that come out and they throw out other doctrines and other fabricated stories. I'm coming directly from the book. I'm showing you what the book says. Okay? Easy enough. So now let's back this up here in regards to the feast day. So now I want to go to Second Chronicles chapter 2 and verse 4, please. The book of Second Chronicles chapter 2 and verse 4. Let's see what this says here. Watch this. Behold, I build an house to the name of the Lord my God, to dedicate it to him, and to burn before him sweet incense and the continual shewbread, and for the burnt offerings morning and evening, on the Sabbaths and on the new moons and on the solemn feasts of the Lord our God. This is an ordinance forever to Israel. An ordinance forever. Meaning that we did it back then, meaning that we got to still do it here today, meaning that we will be doing it in the kingdom. This is to last forever. This is why they are putting out this documentary about Freaknik and throwing our people off and getting everybody's focus to be there versus keeping our solemn feast day that it is a sin not to keep. We got to focus. So now I wanted to read that so that we can go back to Psalms chapter 81. I want to go back to Psalms chapter 81, go down to verse 3. I'm going to read it, and then I'm going to read verse 4 so that you can see this all ties into each other. Psalms chapter 81, verse 3. Blow up the trumpet in the new moon, in the time appointed, which we learned is the full moon, on our solemn feast day. For this was a statute for Israel and a law of the God of Jacob. So now you can take that and cross-reference it with Second Chronicles chapter 2 and verse 4, because what did it tell us? This is something that we have to keep. It is a law, family. It's a law. Okay? So now let's go to the book of Exodus chapter 12, so that this can tell us what our traditions are and why we're doing this, so that you can get a little brief history as to why the Father told us we have to keep the Passover. All right, here it is. Exodus chapter 12, verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. So, family, Happy New Year. Speak ye unto all the congregation of Israel, saying, In the 10th day of this month they shall take to them every man a lamb according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for an house. So now it's telling us what we have to eat. You see, this is why Israelites cannot be vegetarians or vegans. Speak ye unto all the congregation of Israel, saying, In the 10th day of this month they shall take to them every man a lamb, according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for an house. You see, according to the house of the fathers, meaning it's your father's seed that determines if you're an Israelite. Verse 4. And if the house be too little for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next unto his house take it according to the number of the souls. Every man according to his eating shall make your count for the lamb. So the father's like, yo, listen, if you have Israelite neighbors, take them lamb, bring them over for a feast, bring them over so that y'all can eat together and devour that lamb, leaving no leftovers. Verse 5. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year. Ye shall take it out from the sheep or from the goats. And ye shall keep it up until the 14th day of the same month, and the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening. So now it's telling us on that 10th day, go ahead and get that lamb. And then on the 14th day, we're going to kill the lamb and we're going to eat it. And they shall take the blood, and this is verse 7, by the way, and they shall take the blood of it and strike it on two sides posts on the upper door post of the house, wherein they shall eat it. So now, also from that, you are to take the blood of the lamb and strike it on your doorposts and above. That's what we're supposed to do. Now, many of you love to celebrate Hanukkah so that you can incorporate Christmas to it with all your decorations. But the question that I have for you is, did you put that up outside your house? I don't know the answer. I'm just asking you. All right, so let's continue. Verse 8. And they shall they shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire and unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it. So now this is telling you we have to go ahead and make unleavened bread. Now, what is the purpose of unleavened bread? Unleavened bread means that there is no yeast inside of that bread. In the mixture, in the dough, there's no yeast whatsoever. There's no yeast or any type of leavening agents. So now what we have to do, the Father puts us through a process in our mind so that we can go through a physical act of removing sin, not only from our households, but also from our bodies. Y'all understand that? We have to take the sin out of our life. We can't commit sin, nothing at all. No sin. And we have to go through the physical representation of that, of removing all of the yeast products, all of the baking soda products, all of any type of leavening agent that you have in your house. You have to physically remove from your house and all your dwellings. You got to get rid of it. All right? I'm going to read 8 one more time. And they shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire and unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat. You know what that means? Bitter herbs? That means like horseradish, kale, and things of that nature. That's what we must eat with our feast. That's what we have to eat with it. That's what the Father told us. All right, verse 9. Eat not of it raw, nor sodden at all with water. So it's saying, do not broil it. Do not boil it, and do not fry it. Roast it, meaning put it in a pan or over a fire and roast that bad boy until it's cooked. Verse 9, read it again. Eat not raw of it, nor sodden at all with water, but roast with fire his head with his legs, and with the purtenance thereof. And ye shall let nothing of it remain until the morning, and that which remaineth of it until the morning ye shall burn with fire. So, no leftovers. That's all of the food. There's no leftovers. That means you eat it all. Prepare enough for you to eat everything. And if you have any leftovers, you are to throw those leftovers away. And if it remains to the morning, that means that you have to burn it in the morning. You have to do that. That's the representation of getting rid of sin. Verse 11. Wait, is it 11? Yeah, verse 11. And thus shall ye eat it with your loins girded, meaning do it with pride, your shoes on your feet, and your staff in your hand, and ye shall eat it in haste. It is the Lord's Passover. So there's like no sitting around, niggas just, clowning and stuff like that. The Father said, no, eat this feast fast, fast, fast. Eat it, get rid of it, and then go on about your business. That's what we're supposed to do. That's how we have to observe this Passover. And if you do not observe it, it is a sin. If you do not remove all of the leavening agents from your house, it is a sin. So your brother is telling you to get all of the leaven and all of the leavening agents and yeast and everything out of your house tonight. Get it out. All right. So now that we read that, let's go to Leviticus chapter 2 and verse 13. The book of Leviticus chapter 2 and verse 13. So we can back this up here a little bit. Watch this. Is now it's going to tell us how we have to season that food. Watch this. And if thou offer a meat offering of thy first fruits unto the Lord, thou shalt offer a meat offering of thy first fruits, green ears of corn, dried by the fire, even corn beaten out of full ears. So it's telling you exactly how you have to do it. So now let's go back to 13 so we can see how to season it. And every oblation of thy meat offering shall thou season with salt. Neither salt thou suffer the salt of the covenant of thy God to be lacking from thy meat offering. With all thine offerings thou shalt offer salt. Why? Because you are the salt of the earth. You see how this all ties right back in together? That's why I wanted to read 14 first, so that you can see there that it is still the custom that we have to do, but went back to 13 so that you can see how we have to season it, because you are the salt of the earth. This is all about you, the representation of you. The Father is trying to show all the rest of the world that this is about us. We are the salt of the earth, that we are those people. We are the only ones that are to be keeping the Passover while everybody else is celebrating Easter, the celebration of Tammuz and Semiramis. That's what they celebrate. That's what the Christian church celebrates. And they have Easter egg hunts and all that stuff too. The damn horrible, disgusting, foul dog spirits of those pastors and those Christian churches and their false denominations. This is the real celebration of our people, Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, and our culture when it comes to being Israelites. So you got to stay focused. Please, you got to remain focused. So now I want to go to the book of Deuteronomy chapter 16, please. The book of Deuteronomy chapter 16. And remember, we read verse 1. Now I want to read the rest. I want to read verse 1 again, though. All right. Now that you have an understanding of everything that we just went through, when I read Deuteronomy down, then you'll understand exactly what it means. Watch this. Deuteronomy chapter 16. Observe the month of Abib and keep the Passover unto the Lord thy God. For in the month of Abib, the Lord thy God brought thee forth out of Egypt by night. Thou therefore sacrifice the Passover unto the Lord thy God of the flock and of the herd in the place which the Lord shall choose to place his name there. Now, we got to get some context. The Father told us that we have to keep this here in Jerusalem. That's where his name is. But he did this to a people that were no longer in captivity. That's why we were able to go back to Jerusalem. Can we do that now? The answer is no. Why? Because we're back in captivity. What he's discussing right now are for those individuals who are no longer in captivity. They have their own land. They have their own things to celebrate this custom on. But we don't have that now because we're back in captivity. Verse 3, thou shalt eat no leavened bread with it. 7 days shalt thou eat unleavened bread therewith. even the bread of affliction, for thou camest forth out of the land of Egypt in haste. That's why we have to eat this in haste. All right, because we are still practicing that custom. But the Father said that we have to eat unleavened bread for 7 straight days. Even the bread of affliction, for thou camest forth out of the land of Egypt in haste, that thou mayest remember the day when thou camest forth out of the land of Egypt all the days of thy life. Again, that still means forever. We have to practice this custom forever. It will never, ever stop. From the time right now that we are discussing this until tomorrow when we begin, and 7 days thereafter that, we will be keeping that time frame forevermore. It will never, ever end. All praises to the Most High for that. You see, while they have us out here practicing their feast days, Christmas and Thanksgiving, and the Father's like, all that is nonsense, is garbage, and do not follow those customs. I gave you your own customs to follow, and our people will not look at this. They will not get in the Bible to learn what our true customs are, but yet they will follow the customs of Esau and all of the other nations and all that crap. You got niggas celebrating St. Patrick's Day, knowing your black ass ain't Irish. But they'll be right up out there with Esau, dressed in green, drinking, and everything else on March 17th. Just a couple of weeks before we're supposed to do this. And they won't even bat an eye to do this. Bastards, ungrateful, stank-ass bastards. All right, let's go. Verse 4. I'm going to read this again. And there shall be no leavened bread seen with thee in all thy coasts 7 days, neither shall there anything of the flesh which thou sacrifice the first day at evening remain all night until the morning. Thou mayest not sacrifice the Passover within any of thy gates, which the Lord thy God giveth thee. You see that? He said, don't matter where you are. It don't matter where you are. It doesn't matter if you could be all the way in Antarctica. The Father said, you are to keep the Passover there. You cannot sacrifice the Passover. Can't. You have to keep it. Verse 6, but at the place which the Lord thy God shall choose to place his name in, there thou shalt sacrifice the Passover at evening, at the going down of the sun, at the season that thou camest forth out of Egypt. And that's when the Father brought us into our freedom. Because why? All throughout those winter months and everything, when we were suffering in slavery, and the Father said, as y'all come to the end of your slavery, and you see he did it at the end of winter. You better think about that, about for when the next time is coming. He did it at the end of winter, and then it went into the spring, and that's when he delivered us. When the earth was back full of life. When we left the land of Jerusalem, what happened to that land? The land died. It died out all the way, all over this planet. Because the world was made for our sakes. Because we are in our captivity, because we continue to sin, the world, the physical world suffers because of our disobedience. I want y'all to understand that. When you look at all of the places where the Israelites are, when you look at our neighborhoods, they are always the most run down, whether it be hoods, whether it be the barrios, or whether it be the reservations. They are all dead areas. Dead from industry, dead from textile, dead from foliage. It's dead wherever we go. Wherever we plant our feet, dies. When it's supposed to be wherever our feet touch, it brings life. But it just goes to show you just how important we are to this world. And that time is coming back. It's coming back. And it's going to be a glorious time when the Father brings us back. It's going to be a glorious time. We're not there now, but we will be. And until we get there, we're going to practice. We're going to continue to practice what we're supposed to do. We're going to continue practicing these commandments that we're supposed to keep and call it a day. It's a beautiful thing. So family, get the leaven out your house. I already put up a video about a recipe on how to make unleavened bread. You have no excuse. Keep the Sabbath 7 days. Keep the Sabbath. It begins tomorrow at The evening time, when the sun goes down, that's when our Sabbath begins. And family, I love y'all. And as y'all already know, if you have any questions, all you got to do is reach out to me on Instagram. You can reach out to me in the comment section, wherever it is, and I'll respond back to y'all. But family, I love you and I want you to enjoy your Passover. All right? Family, I love you and I'm out.